You're all set, Jim.
Okay. And let me just pull up the all right, Mr. Vice Chairman, it's all yours. If you would, we need to do verbal introductions for the record.
All right, let's start by calling the meeting to order, and we'll do a roll call. Sam Gullo here.
Jeremy Satchel here.
Jim Brick, I'm here.
And Lure, I'm here.
In addition to the board members that are on, this is Jim Pierce. I'm on.
Jennifer Tishka, Wyoming County IDA Program Manager.
Kevin Zanner, WCBC Council.
Robin Marshallek.
All right, Mr. Vice Chairman, I think we have everyone.
Looks like everyone except Rick for today's meeting. So let's start with a couple of administrative things. Review and approval of the August 9th meeting. Everyone has had a chance to look at those, I would assume. So if there's any questions or comments on those, if not, I'd entertain a motion to approve them.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thanks,
I'll
Dan.
second it.
Second, Jim.
Yep.
All those in favor of approval signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll move right into a review and approval of the financial reports for November.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. In front of you, you have the financial reports for the months of August through November. And I'll just kind of walk down through the reports. Cash on hand as of August 1st was $426,548.06. Sliding down to the next set of categories, you see income during that same time frame, bank interest, interest on loans, fast track, and business mentorship income of $3,600. So total income during that time frame was $13,407.28. We also had repayment of loans, principal repayment to the tune of $26,474.19. Sliding down a little bit further, you see the expenses for the organization during that same time frame. Typical operating expenses, marketing, publication, insurance, legal, et cetera, et cetera. Total expenses, including expenses for Fast Track, Business Accelerator, Business Mentorship, totaled $12,424.25. We had some other disbursements during that same time frame for projects and financing, $14,492.88 worth. When we get to the finish line, the end of November, you see total cash on hand of $439,512.40, broken out in the various bank accounts as referenced on the report.
Mr. Treasurer, I would just bring to the board's attention the Gemgo Butter Meat Company. That's the butter meat company located on Main Street in Perry, who got a restart loan to be able to expand her inventory, and she's added some another whole group of inventory to her already existing product line. So she's doing very well with it.
Jim, what's the Gemgo?
I don't know what the Gemgo stands for, other than
Okay.
that's probably the LLC that she formed for the company.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Jim. All right, and then if you slide down to the next page of the financial report, you see the breakdown of 2021 budget versus year-to-date revenue and expenses. And when you take a look, 2021 budget, total revenues of $67,900. Year to date through end of November, $67,927.61. And then if you slide down a little bit further, you can see the comparison of expenses. Total expenses $77,900 from a budget standpoint, and year-to-date expenses of $56,592.54, and leaves us with a total a surplus at this point of $11,335.07.
All right, great report. Any questions that we can get answered? If not,
No, I'll move to accept that, Sam.
okay, got to move, motion to approve from Jim, second.
I'll second that.
Okay, Dan, thank you. If there's no other discussion, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, action items. Jim, you want to take over from here?
Yeah, on the screen in front of you, if you can see it, is a kind of a breakdown of the proposals we've received for auditing services for the three organizations that obviously the IDA administers. Of interest to this board, and the reason we're meeting today is we have a letter of engagement from Freed Maxick for the audit for this past year. And their proposal came in at $8,500, which is a 6% increase over last year. The discussions and the negotiation boiled down to increased costs and challenges that the CPA firm is having, trying to retain accountants. Because of the pandemic, a lot of accountants are jumping all over the place, and so they've had quite a transition. But as you know, Freed Maxick is very familiar with the organizations, all three of them, and it seems to be logical to have them come in and do all three entities at once. And there's some efficiencies with that, and in the long run, it's something that works pretty well for us. So I need some of the board to consider authorization to enter into the engagement.
Well, if you're looking for a motion to approve Freed Maxick, I'd be more than glad to make that motion.
And this is Jeremy. I would second that motion to use them for the 2021 audit.
Is there any other questions or comments to Jim about this engagement?
Looks like it doesn't affect us, but they really jumped the IDA's auditing services.
Yeah, we took a big hit, and I always I'm a little cautious about them increasing the business center just because it doesn't have any employees, and it's not quite the same level of work as for the IDA. So they know the business center is a soft spot that they don't want to tread on too hard.
All right, let's vote on this. All those in favor, we have a motion and a second, signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Restart.
The next item under action items is the Restart Wyoming Loan Program. We had set it to sunset on December 31st. And wondered what the board's interest in is to continue the program. I think we've done a total of 9 loans out of the 200,000 that we had allocated for this restart program. I guess I don't need to remind the board that we're still in a pandemic, and there still is some interest in the program from time to time, but so it's come in useful for at least 9 businesses here in the county.
Jim, when was the last time somebody requested a loan from this program?
It was a Butter Meat Company, which was last month.
Last month, okay. Well, just like you said, the pandemic is still with us. There's still a lot of concerns out there for small business. So I personally would be in favor of continuing this program for a certain amount of time.
As would I.
I'll make that motion that we continue it.
You know, I have no objection about continuing this loan program. However, I recently received some information, actually it was forwarded to me by my wife, about the number of businesses and small businesses in Wyoming County who receive forgiveness for their paycheck protection program loans. And, you know, some of those are substantial, and most of those forgiveness notes came in the third quarter of this year, second and third quarter. So just be cognizant that there is money that's being was used for the paycheck protection program loan that's been forgiven by many of these businesses, and we're talking some significant amounts in some cases, so some over and exceeding $1 million or more. So just want to be aware of that.
Well, my thought on that, Dan, is that most of the businesses that took advantage of the PPP, especially for large amounts of money, probably aren't the businesses that are going to access this program. There's a number of smaller businesses that really didn't have the ability because they didn't have enough payroll to take advantage of the PPP.
You know, Sam, I was surprised to see that there was a good share of smaller businesses that were listed under the PPP loan forgiveness programs, some of whom we have lent money to as part of our microloan programs, and are current in our microloan program. So just that surprised me when I saw that. It's not just the big companies, it's the smaller ones as well.
And that's a report out there that's available to anyone?
Yeah. In fact, if you're interested, I could probably send the link to you. It's actually by, I don't know if she sent it to me by zip code or by county, Wyoming County, I think it was listed as. So, but it surprised me when I saw the number of smaller companies that were on that list. As small
Dan,
as
if you wouldn't mind sending me that link, I would appreciate it.
Sure. I'll do that.
You kind of got to give those companies a heads up for doing that, because the money was there and somebody was going to get it, and they got it. I know the fact that, you know, in the town of Perry, for our ambulance, which is a non-for-profit, we used it twice, you know, and I know Cooperative Extension used it and it helped them out. So.
Yep. Yeah, it was a very generous program in that regard, because you know, if you have one employee, you were still eligible to receive a PPP loan. And, you know, in some cases, we've got businesses that receive a couple $1,000s, others that are well over $1 million. So
Now, personally, I don't even have any employees, and they allowed farms to get up to a certain percentage of your income tax that you followed in 2020, 2019.
Sure.
Well, that's good discussion.
Okay. So if you want to go ahead and vote on this.
Well, is there anybody else that has any other comments on this? If not, we do have a motion and a second, so let's vote. All those in favor?
Actually, we need a date when we want it to sunset again. You want to go 6 months, or you want to go a whole year?
You might as well go a whole year as long as the funds are there.
Yeah.
Okay, want to add that to your?
I'll amend my motion to expire December 31st of 2022.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Moving on.
Yeah, the next section are just some quick updates. We spent a considerable amount of time working on the last couple months on an EPA grant application for the MK site in Arcade. We have a team that we pulled together, including LaBelle and Associates and our private development partner, which is Frontier Global Companies. We worked collectively to get the application in, and it was due on December 1st. So that has been submitted. We're hoping and remain very optimistic that we will get that in place. We also have several meetings with the Village of Arcade. They're one of the partners on this project as well. Let them know where we are in the process. So the grant has been submitted. We applied for $500,000. This board committed to a cost share of $50,000, which was matched by our private developer of $50,000. So if the $500,000 is awarded, we'll have a total of $600,000 to work on the remediation. The primary focus of the application was to remove the buildings and the asbestos from the site. That's because of the commingling of the asbestos caused by the scrap contractor that was in there. There's no way to separate those materials. So everything's going to be treated as being mingled with asbestos and a hazardous substance. If we get the grant, the idea is to then start the submission process with the New York State for their brownfield cleanup program. The idea would be to use the brownfield cleanup program as tax credits for the private developer once we flip this site to the developer. I guess one of the things I didn't mention in the beginning is we are now the proud owners of a brownfield site in Arcade, which was one of the requirements for the grant application. So if anybody's looking for a nice place to have a summer picnic, we have a site available in Arcade. So we're excited about the project, and we're hopeful. We'll keep our fingers crossed. We won't know until like April or May when the announcements are going to be made, but we'll remain optimistic about that. But like I said, a lot of progress has been made, and we're excited about it. So that's the update on MK. I'd be happy to entertain any questions on that.
Yeah, Jim, yesterday in finance there, we resolution to let the taxes go, the road on those. There's 3 contiguous properties there. And that resolution was for all those properties. And we thought maybe you had to do something with the program that we're working on there.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jim. There are 2 parcels that the new LLC took ownership of. One was called Kader and the other was called MK. They're contiguous properties. After we secured the ownership of those, we learned that the county was interested in giving us another adjoining property that's 5.1 acres, which makes it a little bit more attractive for the developer. So once the county has a new county attorney in place, our intention will be to work with the county attorney to secure that 3rd property and add that to the mix. It doesn't add a lot of good value to the site itself because primarily it's located in a floodplain, but it does serve itself probably pretty well for some drainage or some green space and things of that nature, especially if the reuse that we're talking about is market rate senior housing.
So Jim, with the addition of that 3rd parcel, how large of a parcel total is this now?
We're going to be about 15.5 acres.
Okay, thank you.
I happened to be in Arcade last week. I don't get over there that often, but I did take the chance to go take a little drive by, and I can tell you the property doesn't look any better than it did before. So let's hope we can pull this off. It would be great for Arcade and the county in general.
Absolutely.
So are they exempt from, so Jim, Brick, the resolution was for, to forgive the county taxes, right, on the property?
Forgiveness, yeah.
Are they also exempt from school and village and special district taxes?
I'm sure those
as well?
were all re-levied onto that at some point in time. I know some of the numbers are significant. So.
Yeah, I don't know what our liability is Jim, relative to the taxes?
I should mention to the board, and I worked with council on this as well, that the LLC that we formed is not exempt from paying property taxes, but we worked with the local assessors and have agreed to keep the properties on the assessed rolls. But the taxes are going to be so minuscule that they're not going to be much in the way of a liability for us. Each of the 2 parcels that we acquired are each assessed for $1,000 each.
Okay. So it's a minimal cost, but it is reoccurring. And you know, as that, I don't know how this works, is as the property is cleaned up, do those assessments rise?
Well, in the discussions I've had with the assessors, they understand the process that we're going through. And if we get this EPA grant, we have up to 3 years to implement it. But our team thinks that we can get this implemented and done within 2 years. So at the most, we're anticipating that we will own this for 2 years, and then we'll start the process of transferring it to the private developer.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure how it worked when we did the property over in Perry there. You know, at which point the taxes were then reassessed on the property. Was it once the ownership was transferred?
Correct.
Okay.
And now that you mentioned that, Dan, by the way, the Business Assistance Corporation under the IDA loaned money to the buyer of that property, and he just paid off the final payment on that. So it's now, we have no, from a county perspective, we don't have any skin in the game in that project anymore. So.
Got it.
Just a point of clarification on the real property tax exempt status here. I believe the CBC is a 501c3, right? So if we were to seek an exemption, the LLC would be able to use that to present an application to the assessor for an exemption from real property tax. I think what Jim and I talked about was the math wasn't really worth it at the end of the day because of the low assessed value of the property. So I just want to clarify that I do think there's a pathway if we wanted to make those properties exempt while under the ownership of the LLC, but that wasn't the business decision.
Yeah, we're talking about $50.
Yeah.
Right.
Tax obligation.
It's going to cost you more to pay me to put the application together.
Understood.
The next item, Mr. Vice Chairman, is the micro loan program. I think we do have a report in here, if you bear with me a minute. Can everyone see that all right?
Yes.
So there's a report in terms of the defaults. Mr. Wilcox is giving us another song and dance, as he always does. The latest reasoning is for being delayed and giving us some money is that he's now a real estate agent, and he has sold a property, but has not yet collected his commission. Once he does, he promises to send us some money. So we still stay in touch with him. I should say Jennifer stays in touch with him.
He is also running a catering business, isn't he, out of the creamery in Perry?
That's my understanding, yes.
Old Souls or something it's called.
Yeah. Old Souls Catering, yeah. The other default is one of the restart loans, hybrid design and construction. He's 2 months behind, and we've been in contact with him as well. And we did, as the board instructed, by the way, it doesn't show up on this report, but we did write off the, what was the name of the business, Jennifer, the Stork program?
Yeah. New York Stork.
New York Stork. We did write that one off because it was almost paid for, and we had bled the husband, who actually was just a guarantee on the loan, bled him pretty dry, but that one is now officially off the books.
Right.
So that's the micro loan report.
All in all, it's in pretty good shape.
Yep. All right. I don't think we need a motion for that, so we'll just go back up to the agenda here.
Fast track.
Yeah, I would turn the next three program reports over to Jennifer, who's the program manager for these.
Sure. Okay, for Fast Track, we finished the fall class with 7 graduates. We had a variety of business concepts. They included a coffee shop. She's looking to establish in Attica and will accommodate the working hours for the correction employees. A bakery, which is currently over at Remember When Creekside Shop, is looking to move to Sweet Sarah's and Perry and offer ice cream along with her baked goods. She needed a little bit more help with her business plan, so she is enrolled in the business mentorship program. So she's doing a little more fine tuning before she seeks some funding. Alternative health services and products. She'll be offering that in a home-based business over in Wyoming. And specialty doors manufacturing. He's working with that concept. Mobile food service. It is Diner on the Run LLC has been already established. It's a food truck for fairs, festivals, and sporting events, and he'd also like to do some catering. He did provide the class with some brisket, and it had high reviews, and he did our graduation dinner also. He needed a little bit more fine tuning also with his business plan, so he's in the business mentorship program also, and Mike is assisting him. We had a child care services. She's looking to establish that over in the Letchworth School District. And we had a Perry High School student attend through the entrepreneurship scholarship, Jan Parker, Amanda Parker's son. And the concept he worked on was a new fast food restaurant called Dippers. And he wanted to create like thin burgers to dip in a variety of dipping sauces. And he did really well in the class. He was very interactive, and the class really appreciated having him in there. Our spring class starts March 29th and runs to May 3rd, and the class is half full already. And we'll be doing our sponsorship letters for the first of the year. And that's about it for Fast Track. Is there any questions on that program? Okay, I'll move on to the business mentorship program. So of the 8 that are enrolled in the program, 6 are already completed. We called them round 1, and we, as you can see in the financials, we did receive the funding for that. And as I mentioned, 2 of the Fast Track graduates are actively working with the mentors. I'm just trying to be careful not to overload the mentors, so I will be marketing it again after the first of the year. And then if it's something that has to do with digital marketing, Tom Lyon is still a mentor for us, Lyon Global, and he has the staff, so we can, take a few more if that's what their needs are, but I don't know until they apply. And any questions for the mentorship program? No? Okay, I'll move on to the Accelerator Academy. All right, we completed the 4-week program in September, and that class was full also, and we had really good feedback from the evaluations. I'll just mention a few of them here. One was a tremendous way to reflect and take a deep dive into problems that are holding back your business's growth. And another one was this program really gets a business to focus on what their objectives and strategies are and to prioritize them. So this was a really good program. I'm really excited to see it move ahead. We closed out the Wyoming Foundation for Grant in October, and we did a press release, maybe you had seen that, about receiving the competitive grant and the program details. And our next offering for the Academy is April 6th, and we have one business registered, which is the Butter Meat Company. And is there any questions on any of the programs? Okay.
I would just add that, you know, in the 23 years that I've been here in Wyoming County helping small businesses, we always had a void or a niche or a need for that technical assistance program for businesses, whether they're not quite ready to launch or they're stuck on something. So these two new programs, the Business Mentorship Program, the Accelerator Program, really is filling a really nice void here in the county. And I'm very pleased with the success of those.
Absolutely incredible. Just grateful that we have the ability to provide these services to the businesses in the county. And great job, Jen and team, just overseeing and administering these programs. Great results thus far.
Thank you.
I think that's
All right, Jennifer, you're set with your presentations?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Good job.
You're welcome.
I guess we can move on to other business, Jim, if there is any.
Actually, I don't have any other business. I promised a quick meeting, so we're about 35 minutes in. I'm sorry we didn't do it in person, but it did get us out of buying you presents for Christmas. So we got to take some thanks in that.
I do have something, Sam, that I'd like to just bring up to the group. And I'm not sure how we want to handle this in terms of whether we establish some policies or guidelines for the potential of having to provide or having businesses that are engaged in cannabis dispensaries within the county. You know, if you have a business that comes to you that wants to be either an existing business that wants to expand for marijuana sales or cannabis sales, how do we think we're going to handle it from a micro loan program? And maybe Jeremy, I don't know if the banking industry has had any conversations around this or not, but it just comes to mind because a number of the towns have opted out, but I know that they're currently and actively having some discussions in the village of Warsaw relative to allowing cannabis dispensary within the village of Warsaw. But I don't know how we would approach that from a microloan perspective. So just want to raise that to the group.
The only thing, Dan, I might jump in on is, whatever the board decides in terms of looking at support for those types of businesses, that from a federal perspective, all our funds have been defederalized. So there are no federal ties any longer to our micro programs, our lending programs. I know that's always been an issue for the banking industry. Is that right, Jared?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you don't want to be in a position where you would discriminate against a particular business because of what they provide, but this could become a reality at some point. I don't know.
Kevin, do you have any comments on that subject?
I'm taking notes, Sam. And, one thing I would want to just look at, I think, is if, Jim had mentioned we are defederalized, whether that does in fact protect us in that situation, because the funds are still being held in a bank account. So I have not looked at those issues specifically. It's a problem, right, with these kind of programs, because cannabis is still on the federal substances banned list. So I'd have to take a look at that, Sam. We have a team of people that have some experience in this area here, so I was actually taking notes to ask them that exact question.
Well, I think, Dan, it was, I think, important to bring that up and we probably should develop some sort of strategy going forward so we don't get blindsided without having any policy or anything in place to guide us. So I think we probably should look into it.
Sure. I mean, we can have some discussions. I mean, we're not imminent in that New York State doesn't expect to have their regulations in place until either late 2022 or even 2023. But, you know, currently cannabis is for sale on many of the Indian reservations in the state. So, I mean, you can buy it legally, but New York just hasn't put forth their regulations for the dispensaries yet. But I expect that that will be forthcoming within the next year or so.
All right. Well noted.
Yep. Keep it on the radar.
Any other business to come before the board?
Hey, Jim, I'm just trying to ask Jim Brick, I'm going to ask about, you know, what's with the restaurants, diners in the area? You know, they close at 7 o'clock now, and, you know, they're not open during the week, you know, till Wednesdays. You know, there's not a place to get lunch in Perry till Wednesday, you know. I don't know, is this a pattern or?
I don't know. I mean, each business is trying to adjust on the fly to kind of meet some of the demands. And I don't know if it's, obviously it's pandemic related, but.
I think it's a matter of available staff.
Absolutely.
To stay open. You know, a lot of the restaurants don't open until dinner. You know, they may be open from 4 until 10 p.m. or something of that. And this is true not just out here, but even in the city. I was up at the Gatehouse up there in Rochester on Saturday, and a lot of the restaurants in that area, Village Gate, don't open until 4 p.m. Mainly because of that. And they have very limited hours because they just don't have the staff. The problem all over.
It is.
So sorry, Jim, you're just gonna have to keep brown bagging it, right?
Wow, just like, you know, Saturday night, we had the Holiday Delights thing on here, Main Street, you know, and the restaurant closed at 2 o'clock, you know.
Wow.
And there was
Sure.
a couple hundred people down here at 5, you know.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. Yeah. Missed opportunity there.
They just don't have the staff. It's totally dependent on staff. It's not the demand, it's just staffing. These small restaurants are usually run by owners and operators, and they just can only work so much.
Well, somebody told me one time, running a restaurant is about the same as milking cows. You know, you got to be there all day, every day, you know. So.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Jim, are you, we're not going to be setting up a new, our next meeting today, I would assume?
No, it's always to be determined. I don't want to overmeet you without a real reason to. And we do have an eye on our annual meeting coming up. That's usually in March. So keep that on the radar screen. But I want to thank all the board members and council for all your support and your help from this for this past year. We've had an extremely successful year, and a lot of that is due to the support and guidance that you provide us. So we appreciate that, and I want to wish everybody happy holidays, and let's root for an even more successful 2022.
Thanks. If there's nothing else, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that.
All right, Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think